Bow down before my psycho power.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk about the next update and the things that should be focused on the most. Yes, you can start this conversation by talking about individual characters. You have an Anna versus Anna grand finals at EVO that shivers down everyone's spines. But quite honestly, Tekken 8 problem isn't just the fact that there's powerful characters. For example, Anna, Brian, Haran, you can name whatever other character, Yoshi, Mitsu. If you nerf all those characters, yes, the game would be somewhat better, because I do think depending on what character you're fighting against, the game is more enjoyable versus not enjoyable, right? If you're fighting against Kazuya versus an Alyssa, totally different experience. But at the same time, both of those characters are exploiting similar things, similar issues, and I hope this update can address all of it. Some of these problems have been lingering even since season 1, but most of them started in season 2. And with season 2, the developers have been delaying balance, as they said, until the major esports tournaments conclude. Now, you do got to keep in mind, there is EVO France happening in October. Some people think that that's also included and balancing will be delayed until that. I personally hope that's not the case because one, that tournament is 60 days away. If they are going to delay balance for a tournament that's 2 months away, balancing will never be done. 2 months after EVO France is the Tekken World Tour. 2 months after the Tekken World Tour is EVO Japan. 2 months after EVO Japan is Combo Breaker. 2 months after Combo Breaker is EVO Vegas. 2 months, there's always some tournament that's going to happen. With that being the case, you have to strike now before we get too close to that major tournament. 2 months is more than enough time for the pro players to learn, adapt, and adjust. And not only that, I think it would freshen up that tournament so people are more excited about seeing competitors compete under a new balance. With that being said, I want to talk about what changes should be done in Tekken 8's next update. The first one, and this is the biggest complaint of mine. I think that the heat smash is a problem for many reasons, but the easiest thing to attack and adjust to make it a little bit more fair is not allowing heat smashes to go into a stance on whiff. This is like the cheapest thing ever because, I mean, imagine if you were able to do this with a rage drive, Paul Phoenix Death Fist rage drive into a stance. Like, that's basically what Tekken 8 is doing, and I don't think that should be possible on whiff because even on block, you're punished for blocking. You have to guess after all of these characters mix-ups, and that rewards just reckless use of these powerful mechanics. And especially when there's characters out there like a Lars or Eddie who can use their heat smash and then immediately go into a stance, and then in their stance they start moving around and it's very difficult to hit them. I think if you made it to where your heat smash doesn't go into a stance on whiff, more people would be able to punish it and more people would be able to take advantage of it. Another thing that I think should be focused on in this update, nerfing of combos. This is something we talked about in season 1, and they made the whole problem worse with increasing combo damage, and one of the things that did that was the tailspins. Tailspins now allow everyone to get like 18 hit combos, 20 hit combos, and then huge damage, but also unscaled enders at the wall, guaranteed follow-ups. There's no way you should be doing multiple tailspins, getting unscaled enders, guaranteed follow-ups, guaranteed attacks. Tekken 8 is just giving too much reward to the player, because yes, we want to be rewarded when we call something out with a sidestep or a punish, but there's a point when it's too much reward and the game is just allowing you to just do things that you're not supposed to be doing. That's not fair. So I think limiting one tailspin per combo would hugely address the crazy combos we've been seeing. And I hope that's something the developers do. Now, this is another thing that I got from a different content creator. I was watching Nova's video on stream, and I love the way that he broke down and described the power crushes, because I think that is a huge problem. Another thing that I would say is they need to make Power Crush have a slower activation. Now, a slightly slower activation, the way that it was described is that Tekken 7, the Power Crush animation triggered, I believe, at like 5 frames. Now it's like 3 frames, and that 2-frame difference means that basically you can't hit them, right? Like when you jab someone and then their Power Crush is already active and they blast through you, that's because it's activating faster. So I feel like they should slow it down a little bit. But then also I want to say that some of these Power Crushes should be punishable. Why is Alyssa's Power Crush safe? Some of these Power Crushes that are mids, wall splats, heat engagers, or whatever the case may be, they should give it like a -10, give it like a -13. It doesn't make sense. Also, they have like tracking on it. Power crushes needs to be toned down a little bit so that it's more fair and it's not super spammable, because there's a lot of characters you go up against where they're just spamming power crushes, not respecting anything, not respecting the game knowledge, just power crush, power crush, power crush, and you can't do anything about it. Now, this is a scrub complaint, but this is still my complaint. Another thing that I would talk about is projectiles recovering way too fast. Anna's rocket, Victor's gun, Devil Jin's chain, poison breath for Yoshimitsu. I feel like a lot of these, projectile special ability type of attacks, they just recover so fast and you can't whiff punish it. And I think that is being abused like crazy in Tekken 8. In Tekken 7, it wasn't as prevalent, it wasn't as prominent, but for characters not to have a true like counter to projectiles besides trying to sidestep and time a perfect punish, I feel like the whiff recovery should be turned up a little bit so you can get in there and take advantage. I mean, the fact that Victor can shoot his pistol whiff and then still go into a stance is kind of crazy. So I feel like there should be more time on whiff for a player to get in there and handle business, right? Now, another thing that I would highlight, and this is one of the major problems, I probably should have started with this, fixing the general tracking inconsistencies across the roster. It's not even worth highlighting the character because every character does this. Every character either has a move or multiple moves that has inconsistent tracking. The tracking doesn't work here, it works there. It doesn't work here, it works there. This game is not supposed to operate like that. This game is supposed to be very like down to the science if you really lab it like that. But you can see even at tournaments, players will be hesitant about doing an input because they don't know if it's going to connect, right? You perfectly sidestep the heat activation, but you don't know if it's going to hit you, so you don't like press a button. And then also got to talk about the hurt box expanding. Your hurt box expanding when you're trying to attack, that also makes it to where even when you sidestep, you still can, your hurt box can expand back into the range of the opponent and then they will hit you. So those two problems, the tracking inconsistencies combined with your hurt box expanding, both of those need to be addressed, and I hope it does, because it's really ruining the subtle ways that Tekken used to be played in the past. Now here I want to take a look at what other players were saying about this conversation. I posted my 5 suggestions to Twitter, and you have a couple of people in a response. One of those is Blackheart, who says, Heat Smash shouldn't wall splat. Never. I kind of agree with that, but I know the developers will never do that. Damage reduction for everybody. I agree. I think Yoshimitsu had a crazy high damage in season 1. He could still hit those numbers from time to time in season 2, but generally his damage is lower. So the fact that they were able to do it with him means that they should be able to do it with everyone. So Heat Smash shouldn't go 10 kilometers away from you. So this is talk about when they whiff, but then they continue to travel across the screen, right? And then also travel across the screen and they go into a stance. So you can see this is a problem that you can attack in multiple different ways. You have this person who is saying 1 rage art per match, not round. This is something that Mortal Kombat does with, I believe it's called their fatal blow system. And we would want Tekken to operate that same way, considering that they have already so many comeback mechanics already. I mean, power crush, heat smash, the installs. You have these other mechanics as well that operates as parries, right? The flash, low launcher parries. I do think the amount of mechanics are starting to pile up on top, and with that being the case, you should limit some of them to make the game a little bit better. When you're dealing with a Heihachi and you have Ultra Instinct, Heat, and Rage, you're kind of very scared to press a button, but at the same time you have to press a button because that's when he's his most dangerous. He will smoke you. Another good change here, someone suggests buffing backdash. Once again, I agree with this, but also they need to reduce the range on a lot of these attacks, because even if they did give you Tekken 7 backdashing, you would still get hit by like Anna's rocket, right? Yoshimitsu's 3-1. You can't out backdash those tools. You just have to crouch or sidestep or whatever the situation demands. And then also increase knockback scaling to make combos shorter. Combos are supposed to push you out of range, but Tekken 8 doesn't do that. You could get 20 hits and you can still have the opponent be, in range of your attacks. In Tekken 7 and past Tekkens, once you do like 3-4 hits, your moves would whiff and they would fall on the ground and no longer be able to be hit. Tekken 8 needs to reintroduce that. I don't know what happened with it in this game. Another popular tweet, this one says, if the first hit of the hit smash whiffs, the rest shouldn't come out. This is another way that the developers could balance heat smash to make it more fair. The fact that all of these popular tweets are saying this, yeah. Removing heat regeneration. I think this is quite possibly one of the most busted mechanics. Heat is so powerful and some characters can regenerate heat, others can't. That's a huge advantage. Either give that mechanic to everyone or do away with it. All of these points are so great. I mean, more counterplay to stances. Yeah, you shouldn't just have to guess after Heihachi does his heat smash and then now you gotta block at the wall and guess. And then installs, once again, give it to everyone or give it to no one. You gotta talk about everyone getting a full combo, guaranteed hits at the end, Oki at the end. It's too much. But I don't want the conversation of individual characters to overshadow the mechanical flaws of this game. I think Tekken 8 has the potential to be great. I think Evo showed that. I think EWC showed that. But the problem that we're dealing with now is that this game has way too many like heavy knowledge checks or heavy pressure situations where the only way you survive is if you guess. And Tekken, yes, in the past worked that way, but Tekken 8 now is requiring you to have too much knowledge. Do you have to spend the time of a pro player in order to be able to play basic defense? And that is something that they know the average person can't do. Sink 8 hours into this game, which is why everyone is guessing, dying, and losing. Maybe that's the design of this game because they do want to decrease the skill gap. If everyone is guessing, then the game doesn't become about skill, it becomes about luck, and that in turn decreases the skill gap. And we know that's something that every game is after, but at the same time, other games are smart enough to put a limit on how much, decreasing of the skill gap you do because you don't want to kill your game. So Tekken 8 needs to pull that bar back a little bit, start rewarding skill and the player's dedication a little bit more.